From Davos to Parliament to the supermarket aisle, today's news is about power, pressure and accountability. In Switzerland, attention is on South Africa and the US as President Donald Trump arrives at a tense World Economic Forum after Canada's Prime Minister warned that the American-led global order may be fading. Back home, 3.7 billion rand was spent on VIP security last year, more than the budget for fighting serious and organised crime. Former IPID head Robert McBride is also defending himself in Parliament over his links to forensic investigator Paul O'Sullivan. Hello, I'm Jane Dutton.
EWN, in touch, in tune and independent.
More bodyguards than crime fighters. That's the charge from Action SA. After new figures revealed government spent billions more on VIP protection than on fighting serious crime. Parliamentary replies show 3.7 billion was spent last year protecting the presidency, ministers, deputies, international guests and traditional leaders. That is more than the budget for serious and organised crime. Action SA says spending on VIP protection in the first year of the Government of National Unity far exceeds the 2.4 billion allocated to the Hawks. Acting Police Minister Firoz Kachalia confirmed 2.29 billion went to VIP protection and 1.42 billion to static guarding. Action SA MP Alan Beasley warns the bill could rise above 4 billion this year alone.
It is clear that the priorities of the GNU is ban the perks of the bloated cabinet and political elites rather than combating corruption and crime.
Former IPID head Robert McBride again clashed with MPs serving on Parliament's ad hoc committee probing police corruption. Members from across parties criticised McBride's tone and attitude, saying proceedings have been acrimonious since he began giving evidence yesterday and demanded an apology. McBride has been answering questions about his relationship with forensic investigator Paul O'Sullivan, insisting the relationship wasn't close.
I've known him since 2014 when I was appointed to IPID, and I met him in response to his provocation about what IPID's predecessor had done to him.
Tensions rose again when McBride objected to questions about his past conduct and a personal family matter, leading to a sharp exchange with committee members. EFF MP Leanne Matthys warned McBride against threatening language. All eyes are on the South African and US delegations at Davos as President Donald Trump arrives with tensions already high. Canada's Prime Minister Mark Carney set the tone, warning that the era of American-led global order may be ending, remarks that drew a standing ovation. Trade disputes are front and centre. Trump has threatened tariffs on European countries linked to opposition to his Greenland proposal.
We probably won't get anything unless I decide to use excessive strength and force where we would be, frankly, unstoppable. But I won't do that. Okay? Now everyone's saying, oh, good. That's probably the biggest statement I made because people thought I would use force. I don't have to use force. I don't want to use force. I won't use force. All the United States is asking for is a place called Greenland, where we already had it as a trustee, but respectfully returned it back to Denmark not long ago after we defeated the Germans, the Japanese, the Italians, and others in World War II. We gave it back to them.
France's President Emmanuel Macron has warned the EU could retaliate.
So when I called up Emmanuel Macron, I watched him yesterday with those beautiful sunglasses. What the hell happened? But I watched him sort of be tough.
South Africa is using the forum to push investment and reform as global divisions deepen. South Africans are still in anguish and struggling to process the deaths of 12 learners who were killed in a scholar transport crash. The children died on Monday when the minibus they were travelling in collided with a truck in Vanderbijl Park. Preliminary findings suggest the 22-year-old driver was attempting to overtake on a narrow road when the crash happened.
All of us know that we are pained, immensely and deeply pained. And I'm glad that the minister went to visit the families of the children. There's nothing as painful as having to deal with the death of your prized possession, your child who are still young, and have to bury him or her. So the minister has done that. If I had the time, I would go with the minister as well, so that we express our full empathy and compassion to the families.
Ramaphosa also addressed the escalating violence in Iran, noting South Africa's close ties to the country during weeks of unrest. Human rights groups say the true death toll is hard to verify due to restricted access and internet shutdowns, but estimates suggest thousands of protesters have been killed, with Iranian authorities accused of targeting civilians.
What happened was that we did raise with China the issue of Iran, and said that it would be best that they should withdraw and not participate. And having done so, many engagements happened, and in the course of it all, we realized that we needed more information, and that is why we've constituted a board of inquiry that is going to look very closely into what happened, how it happened, and what steps we now need to take.
Consumer inflation edged up to 3.6% in December from 3.5% in November. Even so, South Africa ended 2025 with an average inflation rate of 3.2%, the lowest in more than 2 decades. Meat prices continue to surge, with beef nearly 30% more expensive than a year ago. Bread and cereals are creeping up, though maize meal has eased. Milk is cheaper than last year, but cheese costs more. Rentals have risen modestly, wages for domestic workers are lagging, and festive season travel pushed up long-distance bus fares. Western Cape Premier Alan Winde has met his cabinet today over Knysna's worsening water crisis and ongoing wildfires in the Cape, Winelands and Overberg. In Knysna, dam levels are critically low, prompting the province to seek disaster status. And wildfires have burned tens of thousands of hectares, threatening homes, farms and infrastructure.
This town is growing very fast, more and more people moving here, and therefore you've got to make sure that there's a long-term investment plan into sustainable water supply.
Vote wrong and George could go the way of Knysna. That's the warning from John Steenhuisen as voters in the Garden Route town head to the polls in key by-elections today. 2 wards are being contested in a vote that could again shift power in the Hung municipality following last year's defection of former DA councillors to the PA. George is currently governed by a DA, FF Plus and ACDP coalition. Gayton McKenzie has also been campaigning in the town, with the ANC, DA, PA and the Truth Party all contesting the wards. European police have dismantled one of the largest synthetic drug networks ever uncovered on the continent. They seized 24 industrial-scale laboratories and more than 1,000 tons of chemicals used to produce drugs, including MDMA, methamphetamine and amphetamines. More than 85 people have been arrested, including 2 suspected ringleaders from Poland. The year-long operation involved police forces from Belgium, the Czech Republic, Germany, the Netherlands, Poland and Spain. And back home, Cape Town's newest Freedom of the City recipient, David Kramer, used the honour to mix humour with reflection, celebrating the city's spirit while questioning how it remembers itself. At City Hall, Kramer joked about modern-day freedoms before calling for public symbols that better reflect Cape Town's heartbeat. The ceremony also honoured Kramer's longtime collaborator, Talib Peterson, who received the Freedom of the City posthumously, nearly 2 decades after his death. Peterson was recognised for work that brought the stories of working class and displaced Cape Townians to the stage, including District 6, the musical. Thanks for watching. You can see the news again by downloading the EWN app.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent.